Hi, and welcome for the second season of Grow This, Grow That podcast by Bankar. This time we discuss engineering management and try to find out how to make software developer teams more efficient. Today we had a great discussion about engineering retention with fellow managers from different parts of our work. Thank you very much. This is the final episode of the second season of Grow This, Grow That podcast devoted to engineering management. And today we have awesome guests who are going to share on the topic of retention of engineers inside of the company. So I will ask so first, maybe Didier, could you please introduce yourself?
So, hi everyone, and thank you to having me today. I'm Didier Caroff, and you can say Didi if you want. I'm VP Engineering at Akeneo in France, Nantes City. Akeneo provides a SaaS PIM solution, and the PIM stands for Product Information Management. We provide a single place to collect, manage, enrich any product information and structure a product catalog and to distribute, to spread your product data to any e-commerce or marketing channel. Prior to Akeneo, I used to be developer, then production engineer / SRE, mainly in banking investment. And I switched to a manager role 7 years ago. And in my current role, I manage 80 people. So in different tracks, such as operation, development, for sure, and data. And I'm super happy to be here today with you, and thanks again for the invitation.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Dmitry. I'm a Russian guy who works in a French company and manage a DevOps team remotely from Serbia. I want to thank you also for inviting me to this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dmitry. Kanchan, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Kanchan. I'm one of the engineering managers here at Verify/Visa. Verify is a one-stop dispute management company, and we are recently acquired by Visa. I'm in this role for a year now, and thank you for having me today.
Thanks. And Paul, could you please?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Paul Hutson. I'm a VP of engineering for a sort of smallish startup now. Recently started. Startup's called Edify. We make edutech technology products, specifically working on a VR, AR platform for learning at the moment. So obviously over the COVID year that we've just all had, we've had a lot of people reach out. So it's growing fairly rapidly at the moment. Previous to here, I've worked at small and large organizations. The last one I was at was Amazon. So the largest, we're down to much smaller startups as well. So I've had a range of different hats in different places, from programming through to management. I've been doing management for about 12 years now, 13 years, I think, somewhere around there.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for that. We could start with the first question. As we're discussing retention today, and you are all engineering managers, whether it's a part of the role of engineering manager to retain developers in a company or should be part of the larger company policy and an HR function and not the part of the engineering managers.
So I really strongly believe that it's part of the engineering function, certainly from a leadership point of view, that you're there to actually try and mentor and retain the staff. Obviously, there's policies throughout companies, and you can have benefits that the whole company gets. But I think, at a fundamental level, engineers are about learning new things, experiencing new technologies, and sort of growing themselves. Engineers are naturally really curious. They really want to learn things and become experts in different pieces. So there's lots that engineering management can do to retain staff within teams.
I would like to address, to attack, let's say, this subject on different levels. So I would like to go from behind, in which situation retention couldn't be a good idea. So I would like to say a few words about, let's say, personal reasons. A guy can have family circumstances to leave the team. So in this case, it's not your role to retain whatever. It can be a question of career change. I have a guy from my team who became a luthier. I hope I pronounce it well. It's a craftsman's person who made string instruments. I don't really have enough influence to make him change his decision back. I also think that your role as a manager is to, as we talked about, to help people with their career, so they can just grow your team or even your company, and you can take it as a complement to your management role. Once again, if you imagine that this person can make much better in another team, maybe it's not the best situation to retain him. And if we talk about global company scale, if we talk about low level of renewal, it can be associated with groupthink and inertia. And those are qualities you can see in some administrative institutes and so on. So probably global management of turnover is a good policy in general. It will introduce new ideas. It will challenge current, maybe not so well established policies, and it can boost company production in general. So I would like to just have this in mind when we talk about retention.
Totally agree with you, Dmitry. I also see some point about that is mandatory to say that is hard and expensive to hire people, as is costly also to replace people in a team. So you also see a drop in terms of productivity when you have someone you hire or someone you let off. It depends. But yeah, it takes time to hire, it takes time also to onboard and have someone effective in a role. I got it, your point. But again, from my point of view, it's so expensive to find the right people. That's as an engineering manager or as a VP engineering or whatever the role, you should retain your engineer. And for sure, not for all cases, for sure, but mainly you need to retain your people, for sure.
I feel engineering managers play a vital role in retaining people, even though it comes to a play that the company policies are very important. But a manager actually provides a growth plan to a developer or to an engineer. I feel people look forward more to that, to learning opportunities, to the mentoring opportunities, how the company culture is established, and manager plays a crucial role in establishing a team culture. Also, it's often said that people leave managers and not the company. So if we have like that impact, that how these things are going to play in a bigger picture in their career, I think retention would be much easier. And I do agree with what Paul said in the beginning, that managers should provide a growth plan.
I think just echoing what Kanchan said there, it's about managers are people that are there to inspire people. They are that people follow those managers because they want to work for those people, and that's quite often what you see. If you've got a really good manager, it's not just in engineering. If we're being really honest, it's in every role, but certainly in engineering, it's even more evident that people will move because it's easy to move. And we'll come on to that later, I think, in some of the other questions. It's easy to move around, and so inspiring people and being able to lead is actually quite challenging at times, but also quite fulfilling. I think when you start to find people that really grow and you can mentor to become managers and leaders themselves.
A few times, almost every one of you said good manager. And I think that's something we should remove from our shoulders, this burden of being good managers and retaining the people. When I became a father, I learned this concept, and it sticks with me, that if your baby cries, it doesn't mean that you're a bad parent. So if someone from your team leaves, doesn't mean you're a bad manager. You can still be a perfect manager. So I would just continue all this conversation with this idea in mind that you still should probably, if you did your best, feel okay when it happens. Of course, I do agree with all of you that it comes with a great cost, with onboarding, with efficiency loss, but it's part of your job. Let's say you still learn from this experience.
Thank you guys for sharing on this. That was a great opening. You've partly already started touching different things that influence developer lifetime within a team. I will try to ask to add some more factors that you have experienced by yourself. What can actually frighten developer for working in a team by the actions of the engineer manager, or maybe some things that you have noticed within the company, some parts of the culture that make company more attractive for a developer to longer work there or leave it earlier. So what are these factors that make the developers work longer or shorter within a team?
So I think, you hit on it there, Chongul. It's about the culture. Quite often you find that teams survive by the culture, and especially nowadays, when you've got more virtual teams. I don't know whether you guys have got lots of virtual teams, but I have, and it's certainly become more that way over the last little while. The culture of how you actually react with people, the way you split your work and your fun side up is quite an important part of the business. Yeah, you have to get your work done. You have to do the engineering stuff that you want to do, but you also want to make people feel included. You want them to own what they're actually doing. You want them to be the owners of the team and be part of the team as well. It's about how you build that up in a really strong way for the future.
I will add just 3 words to what Paul just said. I'm a big adept of book Drive by Daniel Pink. So these 3 words is autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So if you can provide as a manager these elements, and of course it's not only about you, it's also about your company. It's mainly purpose. We're talking about company. You shouldn't misread just some perks company can give you with a company culture, and with these elements, you can say that you've done your job.
True, and we also say autonomy is not just to say autonomy. You are autonomous. That's fine. It's also keeping up with the latest technology, have the right tooling, have the right consent to have a team autonomous. It's really part of our job, for sure.
In my experience, it's more like how different people need different kind of motivation. Not all people are excited about new technology. Not all people are excited about the learning opportunities or even mentoring aspect of the job. So it's important to figure out what exactly is the developer is getting excited about, and providing that path to him or her.
I will just add that yes, if you cannot give everyone everything they need, you can at least reduce negative effects. And I think that we can all agree that, personal, professional life balance, we will definitely talk about it, money, compensation for your work, just comfortable work environment. We cannot understand it when we have our job interview, but in our day-to-day life, probably it's even more important than, let's say, global mission if you are not comfortable on your workplace.
I was pretty much going to say the same thing. Yes, I was going to back up what Kanchan said. Yeah, so I think, you can't always do exactly what they want. You can't always provide, the extra money. It's about how you can provide other pieces. It's often about the benefits that aren't just money or just doing the work they always want to do. It's about balance. And actually, I think it's more about communicating that it can't always be good, but we can try and help you get as much as we can in a good way to focus on the things you want to do, but also challenge people to grow into areas where they're not as comfortable in what they're doing. And I think that's part of it as well. Challenging people, making them really want to try harder and expand their expertise is also quite a good thing as well. Providing people want to do it, sometimes people are very happy where they are, and that's the other side of it as well.
Well, I hope you will also nod and you will agree. You all know about this flow state. In sports, flow is a way you can be completely submerged by the task in a good way. You will feel like it goes without any effort from you, and it gives you a lot of pleasure. And to achieve this state of the flow, the task must be, like you just said, Paul, a little bit higher your current level. If it's too easy, you will be bored. If it's too complicated, you will be just overwhelmed and frustrated. And learn and do. It's the best way to, it's your job, as you just said, to give this a way to advance.
True, and meaningful or challenging project help a lot for that. And another point is also to give the right context to our people is also something I guess you need to do, because with the right context, people are able to understand where we will go, what is our vision, what is the vision of the company, and all of that is linked. And yeah, you create the high trust environment, by the way.
Yeah, I think providing the bigger picture always helps, and it's there is a difference between nudging and nagging, I guess. Like, so sometimes you feel that a certain person needs a nudge, and it's a fine line where it becomes nagging. That, oh, you should do this, you should just perform it in this way, and instead of saying that, like, oh, you could have done it in this way as well. So yeah, that's a very important fine line.
And I think sometimes when you're looking at engineers and you're trying to work out what they're not doing well, sometimes it's not just understanding their work environment. It's about understanding what's going on in their life, trying to understand how different factors are actually affecting the way they work and how they look at things, and the cultural differences between teams. Certainly when you have it across different regions and trying to get them to talk in the same way, all those sort of things are quite challenging. But that's also part of the fun, I think, of engineering leadership and management. It's about trying to solve those bits. It's like, I don't know, I always think of it, it's a bit like the puzzle you used to do when you used to be an engineer and you used to put the bits together. It's the same with people, but like way more complex, and it's part of the fun as well.
I think it's a great transition to the question that we had in this list, one-to-one, and the role in people motivation and retention, because it's not the only, but probably the best way to know what's going on, how the person feels, and what can you do to make his career, his experience comfortable. We cannot really make this difference between motivation at work and retention. It comes together. Yes, one-on-one, it's the best way to provide a negative, positive experience in both ways. And it happens to me. I have a guy in my team who is always happy, and I need to force him to say, what can I do for you? What can we improve? How can we make you like a work day better? So I need to continue pushing him forward, and me also.
True, and I also look during my one-on-one with my manager or my people to look at a different behavior, because it's really a great meeting for that. And I call that a low signals. I don't know if it's the correct word in English, but any different behavior or low signal, thanks to the one-on-one, you are able to see that. And this is also a very good place for off-record discussion.
Yeah, I just want to continue Dmitry's point. So I work with a very quiet group of people, and it's very hard to get that information from them, that what is exactly needed by them. Every single time that, no, everything is good. And even the feedback I get is more in the sort of like, they're very nice people, right? I mean, it could have been better, but I'm okay with it. And then you are like, okay, so there are some pointers. Also, I guess constructive criticism is an important aspect. Not everyone can take it, even if you provide it in a way that it's just like a pill, right? You have to give it in small doses, and you cannot really provide the feedback in one single burst that, oh, this is what is happening. And then you will see that nothing is going to be like, there is no result of that conversation.
I wanted to share a story when Didier told about off-record conversation. I said about my experience a few years ago. During one-on-one, a guy from my team just told me that I want to leave company. To give more details, it was one of the cases I talk about in the beginning. He wanted to take back his studies, just finish his higher educational program. So it's not something with the company, with his job. And the way actually I discovered it, it wasn't an official letter, I want to resign, I want to quit the company. We managed to find a nice way to retain him, keep him for almost a year by providing him a flexible time, giving him time to study, to prepare for his exam, and still keeping him working for a project while we waited, tried to find someone to replace him. It was really fluid retention until a new guy with, new motivation, fresh energy came in.
Thank you guys for sharing this. We talked about the factors that help retain developers. We shared on the thing that the role of the one-on-ones on this. But one thing that recently has changed, and many of us are facing it due to the COVID, the engineering market became global. Usually we didn't have such a great competition for developers on the local markets, but currently we see it everywhere. And what have you experienced till the moment? Is it become harder to retain developers on this overheated market? Or what factors that we have mentioned, like work-life balance, what has really changed on the overheated market? Has it become harder to retain them, or nothing really changes? So who could start? And it's interesting because many of us work in different markets. So it would be nice if you could share your stories.
I think in this market right now, everyone wants to work remote. It doesn't matter, like even there is like a more salary, but working remote aspect has become extremely important. And again, we have seen the big players are in the game now, and they want to hire the best talent all over the country or even globally. So it's really hard to compete with them. The salary ranges are all-time high, I would say. And for local companies, you cannot really go by whatever the market data was available. It's like we are talking about different perks. I mean, remote, like full-time remote, you don't have to show up at work, no commute, work-life balance because you are staying at home, and people are very comfortable with that idea. I think these are the big challenges to retain employees. If your company is not able to offer that competitive advantage, it's going to be way harder.
Correct, and we can go back again to the culture of the company. So we have the classic ones, the team building, the activities, mentoring program, or all training you can have in the company. So that's helped a lot for that. And also something new for me, and some people already asked for that, is to have or to know if we are inclusive and if we have a diverse team. First feeling is it seems to be a point, so remote, yes, sure. And also to have a really diverse team with women, men, with people from different background, experience, and people are willing to know if we have or not. Maybe sometimes some program, some specific program for that.
Yeah, I think the diversity is quite an important part of it. And I think you get because if you have a diverse company, you get more viewpoints. The viewpoints that come in are very, very important to actually make people, I think, probably happier in their roles. But I think that really ties back around to another point, which is knowing that they're being heard. So people want to have a voice and they want to be heard in the company. They want to be able to influence direction and they want to be able to own that direction themselves. It's not just about top-down leadership, which you got a few years ago. Lots of top-down pushing in a direction, with little changes from the bottom up. But nowadays, people are much more included. You talk about those things, you talk about the direction, you talk about what you want to build, and you ask them for their opinions, and they can influence where it's going. And I think that's quite an important piece. Again, it's not just an engineering thing, it's an everybody thing. And that's what really includes or creates buy-in and increases retention, I think, as well. Tying it background all the way background, people are happier if they think they are part of the actual decision process themselves and own it.
I will try to add just a little bit different point of view on this COVID situation, and I will introduce this difference already about between causation and correlation. So you just, Jean-Carl, you just said that because of COVID, we are in a remote world, and that's why it's probably more difficult to retain people because market changed. But probably there is a common cause of this consequence. It's still COVID, and something else that happens amongst my friends. A lot of people during COVID decided, for example, to change their jobs, to leave, in their case, it was Paris, to leave a capital, to live somewhere in a small house. And yes, it's still COVID, but it's just a lockdown and difficult environment that forced people to actually downshift. It wasn't, I want to take control over my life, I want to take part in big decision, I want to push my career forward. It was other way around. They change their job to something simple, just to be happy in their day-to-day life. So once again, I completely agree, and it depends on your just deep state. If you are tired after 1.5, 2 years of COVID, maybe challenges and big steps in your career, it's not what you are looking for.
Yeah, I actually agree with your point of view, Dmitry. I have seen a few of my coworkers living the job and actually finding something which is more relaxing, and they are closer to the family. They're closer to that environment which they always wanted. No one is like. I don't think everyone is trying to get into that rat race and trying to get like that extra money or trying to just advance in their careers. But for some people, it's very important to be at a stable mindset in this pandemic.
I would like to continue this idea issue, let's say COVID, and people deciding to change their job or physical living their address should be managed not only on manager level, but on a company level. Probably it's a good moment to reduce the speed, so accept that it will be a stagnation. We can see that a lot of company just disappeared because of this situation. So if you are lucky and yours in a good situation for let's say remote friendly environment, it's great, but you should also take into account your employees' desires. And if I can add, this retention policy should be also probably managed on a company on a direction level, because we know, especially today, that people will leave. So we can talk later about what is good, what is bad, turnover rate. How can we analyze it? But you know that people will leave. So probably on the company level, in your human resource department, you should generate a pipeline in advance to to anticipate these changes, to be ready to, I don't know, I don't like to use this word to replace people. People not always replaceable, but still make this turnover a little bit less difficult for the company itself and for us, for managers. So I try to put some more responsibility to the company direction to make it easier for everyone.
And I think you said earlier, Dmitry, about not being afraid for people to leave, and I think that's also a really important part. You know, it's important for teams to have some churn in amongst it. You know, some people leaving and some new people coming in with new ideas and new energy is often a really good thing. It's a good thing for learning for you as a manager, but as a team and a technology learning point of view, you want to absorb new information, and you can't always have a growing team. You can't always be one of the companies. It's always, you know, in the growth phase. Sometimes you do get into that static phase where you have some people coming in, some people going out, but there's still things to learn as you go through that piece. So I think what you said there, you know, is quite important as well.
I just wanted to agree with Paul that with like when we have new people, there is a new perspective. They come with like new experience, newer technology experience, and that helps as well. Sometimes you need that perspective from outside.
I would like to propose a challenge to Chongal. There are too many points we agree on. You need to find a topic that will generate some disagreement. Otherwise, we will leave this meeting being like, okay, we said a good thing, but it's in a disagreement we can find something really cool and interesting, some new ideas. So please, Chongal, it's your turn to give a nice controversial topic, please.
Yeah, I actually, my bet was on retention on overheated market, and I thought it would just bring some disagreement, but you tricked me. Actually, right now, I'm really confused on finding out the topic that could just, yeah, you have an idea, Dmitry, please.
Well, I started with it, so I take this responsibility to propose it to you. I will invert once again all this topic and ask, can you imagine the situation when you need to fire, when you need to do the opposite of retaining a person? So it's a good way to think of this possibility. Why shouldn't I fire this person?
So, you know, I think actually as engineering managers, it's not, so you're right, there is times you have to fire people, but it's not always about having to always bend over backwards to retain people. Sometimes there's reasons to keep people and you want to keep them, and other times you want to find or you find that people aren't going to change. They don't want to align with what your goal is going to be. And actually, I think it's sometimes better to let those people go on. You don't want them to become toxic in your team. That's probably one of the worst things you can find in a team, is that toxic person that's starting to poison the way it works for everybody else. And I think, you know, there are times when you have to push people along to leave, or at least encourage them, or, you know, better yet, is actually talk to them honestly about their career and where they're going, and actually try and help them find other places to go, which I've done before. And there's like a range of the firing, and the guidance, mentoring, firing. And I think you need to be able to apply both. And I think as engineering managers, and I'm sure all of you have had it, you need to know when you have to apply the different types of discussions that happen. It's based on the person, the situation, and you know, and where you want things to go yourself as well.
I love the question, actually, and also would like to add on this. Actually, some companies are practicing this. Like, I've heard that in Facebook, there is a company policy that you are deciding on. That's a sort of like the sport team mentality, when you're having a team of like 20 players, and your idea is just who you want to fire, because you need to invite new, better players in order to move the competition forward within the team. But it depends that I guess not all managers actually can, not all companies are Facebook. Generally, and most of the companies are not Facebook. And I don't know whether it's the applicable for the majority of the companies on the market. So generally for me, it's that way.
I just wanted to complete you talking about Facebook, and I've read that Amazon actually pays people to leave. So it's a way to test the personal engagement. So they trying to keep only people who are really attached, who really love their job. If you are not attracted by the sum of money someone pays you for doing nothing, just for leaving the company, it means you are really an important part of the team.
Paul worked in Amazon, I guess
I did. So I didn't hear of people being given like that voluntary redundancy. I did see people when they were when they were being made, the lower parts of the group were getting money to leave the team. So that there was some payoffs in some ways, but I didn't see them actually paying groups to leave. That being said, I saw a very small sliver of the 1.7 million people that are working at Amazon. So my view is like a small subset of that within the data teams. So I think there probably is practices like that in Amazon and another country or in other companies around the world, and in some ways that might be a good thing for that churn. It creates the churn that you want and pushes people in one way to, again, it's another encouragement technique to move people along and then bring new people in.
Well, in some companies, they applied it on the other end. So we're talking about people leaving the company, but I don't remember. It's a company that sells shoes online. It's one of the biggest in the United States. Please, if you know the name, give it to me.
Zappos.
Exactly, Zappos. They, after a job interview, if a candidate meets all the requirements, they will propose, if I'm not mistaken, two months salary if they accept just to take money and do not take the position. So it's a like motivation. If a guy, if a person refused this nice proposition, it means a job they're willing to take is really something they're looking for. So it's a test. It's a kind of test like what we just talked about in Amazon to retain people.
In this case, a test by money, but yeah.
Well, it works. Actually, it's also reverse psychology. As an employee, you will say to yourself, okay, I refused quite big sum of money out of nowhere because I did nothing. I just passed few job interviews. So if I don't like my work, why did I refuse this money? So I should like, it's like auto motivation. You do accompany your HR department job yourself. So it's a way to pay for your motivation.
But it's kind of strange. I refuse to work in a company where I haven't worked. So, I just love the money. Yeah. So yeah, Dmitry, that was very nice. I don't know, it's not an icebreaker, but there was already the closing question, brought some fresh air to what we shared. Thank you for being with us throughout this season. We hope you enjoyed listening to our episodes and love our guest stories. Remember that you can find the rest of our episodes about engineering management on Apple, Spotify, and Google, or our website, vectorly.team. Wish you great holidays and see you soon.